Hello YouTube, how is everyone doing? TheProfessional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of Mafia 2. I hope that you guys are enjoying this series. Let's continue where we left off. On this part, we're going to do Chapter 3, but let's do it in hard here. Enemy of the State. An infamous mission in the game, too. This is kind of going to be really funny. I remember this phone call. Answer the phone.
Joe's pleasure, pal. It's Vito speaking.
Vito, why didn't you come home last night? I was worried sick.
Mama?
He said that to his
I
mom.
didn't know you had Joe's number. And whose phone is this?
So have you spoken to Mr. Papalardo? Find yourself a job.
Yeah, he told me to come by and see him today. Hopefully he's got some work for me.
Okay, Vito. Good luck, mio bambino.
All right, bye, Mama.
How did... I don't know how she got Joe's phone number. She probably used a payphone, by the way, when, Here. Sandwich. She probably did use a payphone, but also when Vito says whose phone is this, back then in that time period in 1945, having phones in your apartment or your house was actually a luxury. Not everybody had phones. You know, it wasn't until I would say the 50s when, phones started becoming more commercially available. That's the point when people started more having phones in their houses, and they became as common as they are today.
Oh, hi there.
What's the matter? Nothing good on the radio?
Mind your beeswax, kid.
Turn that light off, but yeah, Karen is spying on everybody.
#1 radio station.
Fix the car, take this. Okay. Yeah, I'm just constantly checking to see if there's that World War II broadcast, because there's going to be more World War II updates. Docks are going to be right here. see if there's anything.
Hey, don't you dare.
No. I guess the World War II broadcast might be a little bit later.
Close the door. It's windy. What do you want?
Yeah, I'm looking for a Mr. Papalardo.
Oh, yeah? Why?
My name's Vito Scaletta. My old man used to work for
Look at how he looks at Vito.
Job, so I came here.
And Steve.
Well, you're in the right spot, sonny boy. Federico Papalardo at your service. You can call me Derek. I think I remember your dad. Good guy, but drank like a fish. What's he up to these days?
He's dead.
Oh, well, we all gotta go sometime. Right, Steve?
Sure, Derek.
So you need a job, huh? Well, you're in luck. We just got a new shipment to unload. Steve will show you around. Now scram, my steak's getting cold.
When his mom says he's with the Union,
Follow me.
that basically means Mafia. And Steve, Derek Papalardo is a Capo Regime captain in the Vinci crime family. He runs the Vinci crime family's operations in the docks.
Load this pile of crates onto that truck. When you're done, you get $10. If something gets lost or broken, you get nothing. Start now and don't take all day.
$10 in this time period, in 1945, I believe would be around $180 in today's money. Load the crates onto the truck. But, you can just walk out after the first crate, or you can just keep loading the crates on, but I'll do that here.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Who the fuck wants to move boxes around all goddamn day?
Yeah, Vito has some more dialogue if you keep moving the boxes, and eventually he just stops. The door is open. Leave when you've had enough.
Jeez, all this for 10 lousy bucks? You gotta be kidding me. How can these guys stand this? I'm doing this for 5 fucking minutes. I already hate it.
Yeah, backbreaking work at the docks. A lot more people worked in industry back then than they do today. I used to work on truck nights when I used to work in retail, carrying around boxes, very heavy boxes, using a hand truck a lot. It was just horrible. It wasn't even the hours when you're unloading the truck at night. It's not even the really late hours. I was always used to working late.
I don't need this chicken shit money.
It was just the exhaustion from it, just, carrying all that stuff around all night, all day. I think it might have even given me permanent back problems, doing that for years. But it's horrible. You know, imagine doing this stuff for just all day. Vito would just be doing that for maybe for probably an hour, but imagine just doing that all day long. And back then, these guys, you know, a lot of these guys worked 6 days a week back then, 12-hour shifts, not like today.
Hey, you done?
Yeah, I'm done. And you can keep the $10. When I said I needed a job, I didn't mean slave labor.
Whatever. Get the fuck out of here then. Don't show your face around here again.
Yeah, don't worry. I can make 100 times more working for Barbaro Incorporated.
Wait, you said Barbaro? Joe Barbaro?
Yeah, so what?
Shit, nobody who works with Joe would carry crates for $10. What the hell are you doing? Come with me.
Also, as for Steve, Steve is not a made man. He's not. Steve would be a made man if he was Italian. He's Derek's most trusted enforcer, but he's actually Dutch-American. That's why he's not, he cannot be a made man. Only Italian Americans can be made men in the American-Italian Mafia. So, that's the primary reason why Steve's not a made man, but he's their most trusted associate and Derek's right hand. If you want to know the backstory on how Steve knows Derek, Derek went to prison for embezzlement for about 2 years. And Steve at that time was in prison for 10 years. And Steve was in prison because he nearly beat a cop to death in the city. So he nearly beat a police officer to death. Steve's a pretty crazy guy. And Steve got a 10-year sentence, but because of his connections to Derek, he got a 5-year sentence. Derek met Steve in prison, and Derek was actually getting jumped in prison, and Steve actually protected him in prison. So Steve protected him, prevented him from getting jumped and attacked, and, you know, Derek can't fight for his life. And so because Steve protected him, you know, Derek helped him out, and also because Derek's connection, Steve got out in 5 years instead of 10 years.
What now?
Well, this one don't like manual labor.
What the fuck?
Said he works with Joe Barbaro.
Bullshit. Who wanna load crates if he works with Joe? You'll have to explain this one to me, sonny boy. What's your story?
Well, my mother wanted me to come talk to you about an honest job, but I need some real money, so this ain't gonna cut it.
Them women, they're all the same. Right, Steve?
Sure, Derek.
She doesn't want you hanging around with Joe, right? My mother was the same way. Look what become of me. Union boss. I got the whole fucking waterfront under my thumb.
Yeah, I'm sure your mom is proud of you.
So how's Joe?
Pretty good, I guess.
How'd you meet up with him?
Oh, we go way back to the old neighborhood. I just come back from overseas, and he's putting me up until I can get back on my feet.
Listen, you gotta understand, a person in my position's gotta be careful.
Certainly.
So you won't mind if I give Joe a call, right?
Nah, go ahead.
Now, where'd I put his number? Hey, here it is.
He might not be home. That wouldn't be good. Remember this line, too.
He might not be home. That wouldn't be good. Hi, Joe. Hey, this is Derek. Listen, I got this guy here. What'd you say your name was?
Vito.
Vito. He's looking for a job. He says he's a friend of yours. A good friend. I just wanted to check with you first. Uh-huh. Sure. War hero and all that shit. All right. Thanks, then. I'll talk to you later. Sorry, pal. I had to check you out. Joe says you just come back from Italy. You must be able to handle yourself. You want to make a little more money? I got just the thing. The guys here at the port are supposed to pay a monthly fee to the barber, but half of them never cough it up. I need someone to give them a little nudge. $10 a man.
What if they don't need a haircut?
Well, then you'll have to convince them otherwise.
I see. What if somebody makes a fuss?
Then you kick the shit out of them.
Well, let's say you teach them a lesson that doesn't require that they miss work. You got it? Which is why Steve ain't doing the job. Right, Steve?
Right, boss.
Collect at least $150, I give you 50. Just for walking around, taking in the sea air and meeting new people. Easy fucking money, huh? What do you say?
Yeah, hey, it's better than lugging crates around.
All right, then. Get going.
And the thing about this is a union is meant to be helping out the workers at at a place like the docks. But Derek is actually the opposite. Derek is actually a parasite. He's actually way worse than a lot of these even decent corporations this time. And also, if you're wondering what this whole thing is with the barber, what that's about, what that basically is that is a form of extortion. That is basically, Derek pays all of these workers, and he has to legally pay them, a certain amount. There was minimum wage, I'm pretty sure there was minimum wage laws in this time period. I don't know exactly what it was. I'll have to look that up a little bit more. But basically, he has to pay them a certain amount. And legally, he does. But what he does is, he then gets some of that money back by basically charging for the barber. He'll say, oh, it's a fee for the barber. And that he gives everybody haircuts. But in reality, it's actually an extortion fee. But mafias will actually do stuff like this, where they will actually control a place with their unions, and they will actually extort workers like this. But the thing is, when the mafia, in reality, they don't really call them the barber's fee. They'll call it like union dues, for example, like union dues, or they'll say welfare fund. And that way, if the police come by and they're asking what is this about, they'll say, oh, it's going towards the union, it's helping for workers' rights, stuff like that. But in reality, it's just extortion. It's basically stealing money from each of them. And he's stealing $10 from each worker. So $10, and $10 would be about $180 in today's money in 1945.
I'm here to collect the fee for the barber.
Hey, what kind of game you playing here?
The kind where you pay what you owe and you don't get hurt. You got a problem with that?
I got a problem with you. Now get out of here before I kick your ass. Here's your fucking money.
Yeah, glad you decided to reconsider. I got his money already.
Vito's father actually worked here.
Hey, pal. Derek needs you to pay the fee for the barber.
Yeah. I must have forgot or something.
Next time, try to pay on time, okay? Thanks. Hey, Derek needs you to pay the fee for the barber.
Sure, here it is. I don't want no problems.
Don't leave it until the last minute next time. Hey, pal. Derek needs you to pay the fee for the barber.
Look, asshole, I'm not in the mood. Why don't you get out of my face before you get hurt?
Ah, no can do, pal. Derek wants his money.
Derek can kiss my ass. What's that fat fuck gonna do? Have me killed?
Hey, you said it, not me.
Why don't you give it a try then, asshole?
Damn. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else got a fucking problem with paying for the fucking barber? Here's the money, boss man.
Good job. Here's your share. I watched you take care of Bill. You were good. Steve damn near got his ass kicked when he tried that. Right, Steve?
Right, Derek.
Here's a bonus for sorting him out.
Thanks.
The guy's been a real fucking pain. Now get out of here, kid. I gotta be getting back to business. And say hello to your mother for me. Tell her you got yourself a job as my new assistant.
Yeah, will do. I'll see you later.
Vito, I almost forgot. Joe called. He wants you should meet him at Freddy's. Ain't got nothing else for you right now, kid. You just finished the job. Take a break for a while. You earned it. Ain't got nothing else for you right now, kid.
Can you talk to Steve? I don't know if you can. Okay. And you can sell cars to Derek here at the docks. I don't think it's available right now, but it will be a little bit later. Oh, right.
Radio News. I'm Lowell Harris. Victory in Europe is at hand. That's the rumor anyway, as President Roosevelt is reported to be meeting with the leaders of Great Britain and the Soviet Union to determine how Europe will be divided amongst the Allies after Germany's imminent defeat. The meeting, which is taking place at a secret location, once again puts together the men who have come to be known as the Big Three. Our own President Franklin Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union. Military experts are hoping this conference will result in an even stronger relationship between the United States and Great Britain and strengthen Western ties with the Soviet Union.
That's not going to happen.
Radio News, I'm Lowell Harris.
Classic music for a classy city.
In the Philippines, United States troops fighting alongside local guerrilla forces have begun taking back the Pacific nation's capital from its Japanese captors. U.S. forces have completely encircled the sprawling city and are now facing a Japanese occupation force estimated to be 20,000 strong. Early reports have already indicated that this could be one of the bloodiest battles yet seen in the Pacific. More on this story as the information comes in, and hopefully the Japanese are pushed out of Manila. For Press Radio News, I'm Lowell Harris.
So the first thing is the first radio broadcast, and this is a lot of YouTubers, they miss these radio broadcasts because they turn off their music, but they're not, I wouldn't say completely important to the story, but I do like that attention to detail having them there. But basically, the backstory, the first radio broadcast, the European one, talking about the Yalta Conference, that was, you know, the big three, Roosevelt, FDR, Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Britain, and also Joseph Stalin. Now, they were meeting in Yalta, which is in modern-day Crimea, and it was to agree on, you know, how Germany would be divided up until at the end of the war. And what happened was Stalin actually broke a huge amount of his promises. One of the promises that Stalin did keep at the Yalta Conference is he promised to declare war on Japan 3 months after Germany's collapse. And he did keep that promise. In August 1945, the Soviets launched the Manchuria offensive, and they overran the Japanese that were in Manchuria, China. So that did also help to end the war, but Stalin actually broke a lot of his other promises. Like, he promised free elections in Poland and Czechoslovakia, and what he did was he just rigged the elections, and he basically created a communist puppet states in those countries. And then he basically said, oh, you know, those countries need to be friendly towards the Soviet Union, you know, we have the right to decide their government, when he said that they would have the right to decide their government on their own through free elections. So Stalin did not hold that up, and this is why I say that Truman was a much better president than Roosevelt is. I might be unpopular for saying that, but the reason that I really get pissed off at Roosevelt in this point is because even though Roosevelt did get us through World War II and he did do a good job as our president during World War II, Roosevelt's biggest problem is that Roosevelt appeased Stalin too much. He didn't stand up to Stalin too much. He didn't yell with Stalin. He didn't argue with Stalin. Churchill was a little bit more aggressive, but Roosevelt was just he appeased Stalin way too much. When Truman took power, though, because Roosevelt died in April 1945, when Truman ended up becoming president and Stalin was not keeping a lot of these promises, Truman went hard against the Soviets. Like, Truman was just not taking their BS at all. Truman even cursed out Molotov, the foreign minister of the Soviet Union. He actually cursed him out. Truman would drop foul language at people that he did not like. So if there was a stupid politician or even a foreign politician that pissed him off, he would curse them out. And when Molotov was cursed out, he said, in my entire diplomatic career, I've never been treated like this. And Truman said, if you don't want to be treated like this, keep your goddamn promises. That's what Truman was. So I personally think Truman was a better president because of just how he ended up dealing with the Soviets after the wars, that Truman was just not taking their BS. So Roosevelt, unfortunately, was appeasing Stalin too much. Now, about the other broadcast talking about the Pacific, what they're talking about is it's not only is it the end of Nazi Germany, it's nearing the end of Imperial Japan. Imperial Japan still has more fight in them than Germany, but their empire is collapsing at this point, and the U.S. is actually landing in the Philippines. Now, the Philippines were an American ally. They were an independent country at this time, but they were kind of more like a puppet of the U.S. Their government was very friendly towards the U.S., even though they had their own government. They pretty much anything that the U.S. wanted, the Filipino government would give them. Manila was the capital of the Philippines, and what happened was over 100,000 Americans were actually stationed in the Philippines before the Japanese invasion. So it's one of the places in the U.S. had their largest military base actually in Asia at that time, in the Philippines. And right after Pearl Harbor, what people don't know is that Japan went on a crazy conquering spree right after Pearl Harbor. They took Wake Island, which was a U.S. territory. They took Guam, which was a U.S. territory. They invaded the Philippines, which was an American ally. And they also pushed down into Asia. They pushed down into Indonesia, Malaysia, and they were trying to secure the oil fields the Dutch had controlled in Indonesia. But that was and they also took Singapore and Hong Kong. So the Japanese went on a crazy conquering spree. And during that time, what happened was the Japanese had captured 100,000 American POWs, and MacArthur, who was actually in the Philippines at that time, was ordered by Roosevelt to actually pull out. And MacArthur didn't really want to pull out, but Roosevelt told him to pull out because Roosevelt did not want MacArthur to be captured. MacArthur didn't want to go, but he left, and he promised, I will return. And he did end up returning, and he returned about 3 years later, in early 1945. So January 1945 is when the landings actually happened in the Philippines, and the U.S. started pushing through the Philippines and taking the Philippines back. As for Manila, what the radio broadcast is talking about, they're referring to the Battle of Manila. Manila is actually the capital of the Philippines, and Manila is oftentimes referred to as the Asian Stalingrad, because Manila was the most urban battle that we fought against the Japanese in World War II. When it comes to fighting the Japanese in World War II, you typically think of, when the U.S. is fighting the Japanese, you typically think of like jungly islands where the U.S. was fighting the Japanese. But Manila was actually a very urban environment, so it was house-to-house fighting against the Japanese. And it was street-to-street fighting, taking back block by block from the Japanese. And what the Japanese did was they used Filipino men, women, and children as human shields, and thousands of Filipino civilians died. Manila, I think, ended up becoming the most destroyed city in Asia at that time. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was Manila that was the most destroyed city in Asia. So the Japanese, they shelled so many civilian areas in Manila. They used the civilians as human shields. It was horrible. It was like thousands of civilians had been killed in the Battle of Manila. This is Freddy's. It's a bar and restaurant that's owned by the Clementi family. It's a front. I'm hearing like Fallout music here, but that's this real music. Ink Spots, I think that's the band. But let me actually turn that off here. I'm gonna get a copyright claim in a moment. Henry, here it's gonna be.
Where the hell you been?
I came right over as soon as you called. What's going on?
You remember the wise guys we used to see when we was kids?
Yeah, why?
The guy we're meeting here is one of them. His name's Henry Tomasino. I think he's got something big for us.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. We're done with the small-time jobs. It's time to make some real scuttle. Here, he's coming. Don't say nothing stupid. Hey, Henry, how are you?
Hi, Joe. This the guy?
Yeah, this is Vito, an old friend of mine.
Good to meet you, Henry. You vouch for him?
Absolutely, Henry. Trust him with my life.
Okay, listen, I got a job for you. The money's good. I need gas stamps. They're worth a fortune now because of the gas shortage.
Where can we get them?
In the Office of Price Administration. That's a federal government agency. Isn't that a little risky? What? Too much for you? No. Just trying to think of how we can pull it off. It can't be that hard. The stamps are kept in the safe at night, but the keys are probably around here somewhere.
You got somebody inside?
Yeah, one of our guys. His sister works there. Can she help us out? Ask her yourself. Her name's Maria Agnello. Here's the address. Tell her I sent you. All right, what about the safe? What if the keys aren't there? That's your problem. So what's the job pay? I'll give you $600 for 10,000 gallons worth of stamps.
Okay, we're in.
No, I need Vito to do this alone. I got another job for you, Joe.
So, what do you say, Vito?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, and don't forget to take a piece with you. You never know what's gonna happen. Better to be safe than sorry. Agabish.
Wait. This isn't some liquor store stick-up. I want this to be a clean job. If you kill anybody, your cut drops to a third. Gabish? Yeah, I got it. No problem. Okay, when you're done, you come back here and we'll settle up. All right, I'll see you.
Good luck, Vito.
Now,
Joe and I have some business to discuss.
what I'll say about Henry, though, is that, I'm gonna say something probably pretty unpopular. Henry's a pretty popular character in the Mafia series, but what I'll say about Henry, I absolutely despise Henry. Like, I hate him. I really hate him. I cannot stand him. I really do not like him. I actually think he's a giant piece of shit, excuse my language. But, I'm gonna explain why I hate him so much as we go through the story later on, but I actually really do not like him. Personally speaking, I think he's a very overrated character, and I don't know why people, like him so much, but I don't want to talk too much about him because I don't want to spoil it for people that are watching me play this the first time, but, I'll explain later on why I really don't like him. And also, additionally, the reason that Vito got a bit scared is because any crime that you commit in a federal building is going to be a federal crime. So you'll be tried in federal court, and that is going to be way more strict than any state court. And so if you commit any kind of federal crime, the punishment that you're going to get is going to be way more severe than any kind of crime that you would get in a state court. Take a door signs to find Maria's apartment. Oh. Remember, if you could knock on the wrong door, no, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, can I help you?
Yeah, hello, ma'am. Henry Tomasino sent me. He said you might be able to help me with a little problem down at the Office of Price Administration.
Yeah, I heard about that. What do you need from me?
I need to get in there tonight.
All right, tell you what. My sister's in the hospital right now. If you give me a lift over there, I'll tell you everything you need to know. It's right across the street from the OPA, so it ain't like you're gonna be going out of your way.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, let's go. And take it easy behind the wheel, all right? I seen the way you kids drive these days.
Oh, if only she could see the future
All
with,
right,
like,
kid.
people using nitrous and, you know, kids, you know, doing all these crazy things in their car and speeding like maniacs.
Place is locked up pretty tight at night, so you gotta get into the back.
They keep the back door open at night.
No, but the basement window usually is, so that's how you can get in. You're looking for the safe, right?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Lucky guess. It's on the top floor. So's the director's office. That's where the keys are.
Okay, so I go in through a window around the back, then head upstairs to the director's office, right?
Right. And be careful, there's guards in there at night. Don't let them see you.
You know, I love this game so much when it's snowing. I wish that the snow chapters were longer, honestly.
All right, kid. Drop me at the hospital right here. The office is across the street. Okay, thanks for the ride, kid.
Thanks, Maria. I'll see you.
There are two ways to actually do this. You can actually go in through the bottom there, that window, or you can actually go in through the top here. There is no radar, so you can't really hear these, see where they are, but you can listen for them.
Pipe down while I finish my puzzle.
Raspberries. I'm gonna go make the rounds.
Good riddance to you.
Okay, this will make it a bit easier now.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah, okay. This is the safe, but this, we cannot open that until we have to get the keys and then also disable the alarm. The best way to find the guards is to listen for keys. If you hear their keys jangle, you know they're nearby.
Okay, this is the director's office. This is where the key should be. All right, here's the key. Now I gotta get to the safe.
Yeah, the thing is, the reason that the game does not tell you that you have to disable the alarm is because when you really think about it, Vito wouldn't really think about something like that. You know, Vito's a kid at this time. So he really wouldn't think about something like that he has to disable the alarm. I'm pretty sure this is the door to the outside. It is, yeah. Okay. First floor. Your position, okay. That's weird, okay. That door right there. In this mission, there's a funny conversation that you can hear between two guards where one guard is saying he's gonna go home and watch television. And he talks about how there's 2 channels and it's amazing, and a bunch of this other stuff. And then one of the guards says maybe one day you can use the remote to control like a character in on the TV. And the guard says, you know, nothing like that is ever gonna happen. Trying to see if there's anything actually in here still. In this room, no, not really, nothing in here. No, nothing in here, okay. Time to leave. The Professional. Yeah. Obtain ration stamps without raising the alarm. Yep. I am the Professional. And, also, the gas stamps, a lot of stuff was actually rationed in this time period, especially gasoline for the war effort. But it's... you know, the United States is actually fighting a war against Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany, but, you know, the Mafia doesn't care about stuff like that. They don't care about their country, you know, what's good for their country. They only care about what will make them the most money. I gotta turn off the music on the radio because it's gonna happen again, you know, the copyright.
Well, how'd you make out?
Piece of cake. They're in for a shock in the morning.
That's good. I see Joe knows how to pick his friends. Let's see what we got here. Ah, shit.
Something wrong?
You bet your ass there's something wrong. These stamps you took have an expiration date. And that date is tomorrow.
So, what exactly does that mean?
It means they're gonna be fucking worthless. But wait. If you can get them to the gas station attendants by midnight, they'll be able to stamp them and redeem them. You better bring them to every gas station in town. They gotta get there by midnight or we're screwed. If you don't sell them in time, you get nothing.
Wait a minute, that wasn't our deal. You didn't say anything about any expiration dates?
Well, shit happens, doesn't it? Look, you pull this off, I won't forget it, trust me. Now get going. The faster you unload them, the more money you get.
You pull this off for me, I won't forget it. So yeah, your guys are starting to...
Hey, what did I just say? You get rid of him by midnight or you get nothing.
You guys are starting to see why I hate Henry. And also, I found it, when I was watching Michael Franchise, who Michael Franchise was a former capo regime in the Gambino family. When I watched him actually play or react to Mafia 2, he actually said about this scene. He said that this wasn't part of the deal and that you know, this would be really bad right now because, you know, the guy goes in, nearly gets shot, and then they're saying, oh, you know, this isn't good. I won't pay you unless you do this on top of that. But that wasn't that was not the deal that Vito had with Henry, but what happens there, that's not my main reason that I actually hate Henry, that's part of it, but I will explain later on why I really hate Henry. I don't know why people like him so much.
Hey, you in the market for some surplus gas stamps?
Sure. Where'd you get them? On second thought, I don't even want to know.
Smart man. All right, now fork over the dough.
Yeah, all right. Just hope I don't get in trouble for this.
Don't worry about it. Just keep your mouth shut.
Press Radio News. I'm Lowell Harris. Ladies and gentlemen, not in all my...
Okay, which one to next now?
Years of doing the news have I ever had to report on.
I'm gonna have to, let me see, mute the car driving a little bit here.
Nor have I been privy to just the extent of some men's evil. But it is my duty to tell you that, upon liberating a Nazi prison camp in Auschwitz, Poland, Russian soldiers discovered mass graves as far as the eye can see. It is estimated that these graves contain the remains of thousands upon thousands of the Third Reich's prisoners. Prisoners who likely succumbed to the same malnourishment and mistreatment that was endured by the survivors. More on this tragic revelation as it unfolds. For Press Radio News, I'm Lowell Harris.
So about that right there, that what he's talking about is he's talking about the liberation of Auschwitz. This was the one of the worst. I think it is the worst Nazi concentration camp. The most amount of people died in Auschwitz. Now Auschwitz, it is in Poland. It's actually in my parents' country of Poland, and over 1 million people died in Auschwitz. I will have the exact number on the screen of how many people died in that camp, but it was absolutely horrible. The Soviets ended up liberating it. It would be right around this time, February 1945, is pretty much all of Poland. The Soviets had retaken it back from the Nazis. They had taken East Prussia. And at this time, people figured that the Holocaust was going on. They did not have they didn't in their minds think about the scale that this was actually happening on. People had a good idea that something was happening, that there was a genocide happening, but a lot of people did not know just the extent that it was happening. Because how people knew is that hundreds of thousands of Jewish people were disappearing. They were being, put on trains, shipped out, disappearing. The ghettos got cleared out, and a lot of these prisoners had just been sent away. So hundreds of thousands of people that had been missing, and when people put two and two together, they realized the scale, the atrocities of what was going on. In the concentration camps, you had millions of people that died in the concentration camps. Jews, Poles, you had priests, you also had people who were gay, people who were handicapped. A lot of people were just murdered in these camps. And the thing about this is that even when the Nazis were losing the war and the fronts were closing in, the Nazis did not stop that. They just doubled down. They just kept doing it. They just kept killing more and more people, working more people to death, starving more people, gassing more people. They just kept doing it. Even as the fronts were closing in and it was getting really bad for Germany, they did not even take any of those resources away into actually their war theaters, into actually their army itself. Instead, they just doubled down on the genocide, doubled down on the murders, and it was really horrible that a lot of these guys ended up escaping. You had a lot of top Nazis that ended up escaping to South America, specifically Argentina. It wasn't just Argentina. A few escaped to Bolivia, some escaped to Brazil. One of the worst Nazi war criminals that actually escaped was Dr. Mengele. Dr. Mengele, this was a psychopath, pure evil, really, really horrible person. This guy did human experimentation. He experimented on people when they were alive, tore their bodies up. This guy was just gruesome, murdering children. Really, really evil guy. This guy ended up escaping. He lived in Argentina for some time. I think he actually died in Brazil. He did die, I think it was Brazil. He died in a drowning accident in the 70s, but some people think that Mossad, the Israeli secret service, that they assassinated him. There was also a top Nazi, I forget his name, but I think he was in Argentina, and he was actually, there was an Israeli operation where they actually kidnapped him and they brought him back to Israel and they tried him for war crimes. And he was hanged. I'll have his name on the screen. I forget the guy's name, but I remember Israel did kidnap a Nazi that had escaped to Argentina. Now, the reason that so many Nazis actually went to places like Argentina is because Argentina had admired, at that time, Argentina admired German culture. It was a dictatorship. They were very fascinated with Germany. It was a ultra-nationalist country, and so a lot of Nazis had seen refuge there. The another country where a lot of Nazis went is Spain. Spain was a fascist country. A lot of Nazis actually went to Spain and had died in Spain, where Franco had given them a refuge also. But it was just it is just such a horrible thing just thinking about, and this happened in my parents' country of Poland, and that's why I just, pray to God that I didn't live in that time period. It was one of the worst time periods that that happened, and, thankfully the Nazis were defeated, and because if they had succeeded, just think about all the peoples that would have been wiped out. It would have been absolutely horrible, but also, I will also say one other thing is, in Germany itself, huge amounts of the German public, they were aware of the genocide, they were aware of the Holocaust that was going on. A lot of German civilians had actually tried to downplay it at the end of the war. They tried to say, like, oh, we didn't know about that, we had no idea about that. They knew about that. Because think about this, when there's a town that's right next to a concentration camp, and you see thousands and thousands of prisoners constantly being brought in, and then you see, you know, all this smoke coming from the camp and this horrible smell of, you know, dead bodies being burnt. You know, it's not hard to figure out exactly what's going on. So a lot of these German civilians were saying, oh, you know, we had no idea, you know, what was going on. They knew about what was going on. The reason that they were in denial at the end of the war like that is because they did not want to admit that they were that it was their country that had done that, or that they were aware of stuff like that. They basically tried to play ignorant. There's a really good scene in Band of Brothers, and it's one of my favorite scenes in Band of Brothers. It's a World War II TV show, but in Band of Brothers, what happens in that one is that there's a scene where one of the characters, it's been so long since I've seen it, but one of the characters, he breaks into this house, and he basically tries to help himself to some alcohol in some German home, and there's a German woman that's there, and she gets really mad at this American. This is based on a real story that happened, by the way, because Band of Brothers is a true story. And she gets pretty pissed off at the American soldier who was, you know, going through her alcohol cabinet. But then what happens is, later on, when they actually find the concentration camp in that area, a lot of the German civilians were actually brought to that concentration camp, and they were actually forced to help feed the prisoners, to help clean up the camp, and also move the dead bodies. And it was to show them the dead bodies and what had basically happened. And in that exact scene, you actually see that exact same German woman who was basically getting all mad at him and telling him that he should be ashamed for being in her house. But now she actually saw what her own government had done. Just the scale of what her government had done, and, you know, she was just feeling the shame of that. And that did happen during World War II, or after, right when those camps were discovered, that a lot of German civilians from the surrounding areas, they were actually taken against their will, and they were actually brought to those camps to actually see what had happened, and they were actually forced to actually clean up the dead bodies and forced to actually help the prisoners. And the even though it was kind of brutal, the U.S. Army basically forcing those civilians to see all those, you know, graves and all those dead bodies, the reason that the U.S. did that was just so that the German public could see, this is what your government did, this is what your leader did. Because Eisenhower said, get the evidence right now, because if we don't get the evidence, people will deny this. And Eisenhower was proven 100% right on that. You know, you have people even to this day, despite all of the evidence, that will deny the Holocaust. You have people that will say, oh, you know, it did not happen. But that is that was a real quote from Eisenhower, and the German public needed to see that. They needed to see the harsh reality of what their government had done. Because there was, well, if the U.S. had not done that, well, what happened is, you know, people would have said, oh, you know, it's just American propaganda, they're just trying to slander Hitler, they're trying to make Hitler look like he was, you know, evil, mass murderer, blah, blah, blah. That's what the German public would say. And so that's one of the reasons that the U.S. had actually brought a lot of German civilians to the camp, so that they could actually see, this is what your government did, this is what your leader did. And the thing is, Germany was not fully denazified as a country, I would say, until even probably the 70s. The 1970s is probably when Germany was fully denazified. That's what I would put it at. Because what happened was, in the 1950s and the 1960s, you had huge amounts of Germans that were still sympathetic towards the Nazi regime. There was polls that were actually taken in occupied Germany that said up to like 40-50% of the population actually said that Hitler was a good leader. That's what they believed. So it was, and the unfortunate thing is that the U.S. stopped denazification in the 1950s. The reason that the U.S. had stopped that was because they wanted because it was very unpopular in West Germany. It was pissing off a lot of West Germans, and they wanted West Germany to basically be an ally against East Germany. But the problem with that is that you had a lot of these Nazi sympathizers that were still in the government. And as for West Germany, what I will say about the West German government is, when we think of West Germany during the Cold War, though, we think of West Germany as this beacon of freedom and this beacon of democracy, but it's actually very far from that. The West German government is evil. I will say that straight up. West Germany was an evil country. It was a bad country. Now, West Germany was a better place to live than East Germany. If I had to choose, would I rather live in West Germany or East Germany? I'd 110 times rather live in West Germany than live in East Germany. East Germany was a way worse hellhole. So East Germany was, you know, brutal communist dictatorship. But what happens is, because East Germany was so brutal, people constantly overlook about the bad things that West Germany did. West Germany was also an evil country. Now, West Germany was more of a democratic country. You know, you could speak your mind. You didn't have to worry about this terror, like, you know, the police coming to your house in the middle of the night and kidnapping you, like in East Germany. But the problem with West Germany is that West Germany was extremely corrupt. Very, very corrupt country. what happened is there was a lot of Nazi officers that had murdered thousands of people, killed so many people, and what happened is the West German government gave these Nazi officers like life in prison at first, only to appease the Americans. But what happened is, after just like those Nazi officers being in prison for like 5 or 10 years, what would happen is the West German government would then, the corrupt judges, because they were in league with a lot of these Nazi officers, they were sympathetic to them, what they would say is, they would say, oh, this Nazi that's in prison, he's sick, he's old, he's gonna die in a couple years, we're gonna release him just so he can spend the remaining time with his family. And they would release these guys, these mass murderers, and what would happen is, these guys would live for another 20 or 30 years. And so that's honestly why I hate the West German government, why I hate them. I'm Polish. Millions of my people had died in World War II, and that's, why I get so mad about, thinking about that stuff, is that the West German government was corrupt, it was evil, just letting out all of these, Nazis constantly. East Germany was, a worse country to live in. But one thing I will say about East Germany is East Germany did punish a lot of Nazis. They hanged a lot of Nazis, they killed a lot of Nazis. I'm not a defender of communism or the Soviets, I hate them. But the only thing I'm saying is that East Germany was way more strict with this, is that they had, hanged and killed a lot of Nazis, but West Germany had released a lot of these guys. There was actually a top Nazi, Heinz Reinfarth. This guy is a perfect example of the corruption that happened in West Germany after World War II. So the backstory behind Heinz Reinfarth is that Heinz Reinfarth was an SS officer, and during the Warsaw Uprising, that was when Warsaw was rebelling against Nazi occupation. This was in August of 1944. What happened was he participated in the Wola massacre, and what the Wola massacre was is that the Nazis were basically driving up and down the streets in Warsaw, just rounding up thousands of Polish people and just shooting them publicly in the streets, just mass executions on the streets. What the Nazis would do is that if one German soldier had been killed by the Polish resistance, they would take 100 random Polish people and they would just publicly execute them on the streets. Just random people that they would just pick up off the streets. And this guy, this piece of shit, he killed so many people, thousands of people, between 50 to 60,000 people. He participated in that massacre. This guy was a genocidal maniac. This guy was evil. This guy was the devil, basically. And what happened is, after World War II, the Polish government had actually requested that West Germany extradite this guy to Poland, to face war crimes. Now, Poland was a communist puppet state at that time, but this was one thing that the Polish government was right on this, that this guy needed to be extradited. This guy was a mass murderer. This guy was a horrible human being. Now, what happened was West Germany was, saying the same thing. They were saying, he wouldn't get a fair trial in Poland. The Polish judicial system would be biased, blah, blah, blah. Like, the West German system would not be biased when they were constantly, releasing all of these top Nazis. And what happened was they refused to send Reinfarth to Poland. They refused to. And he basically got away with it. Got away with killing thousands of people. Got away with it, never was charged with anything, and they kept saying there's no evidence that he, did any of this stuff. He just, served in the German army during World War II. They kept saying, he was just an SS soldier in the German army. There's no proof that he committed all these crimes. How the West German government, treated it. And what happened is this guy became rich. He became a businessman. He became a multimillionaire, and he even ran for office in Germany, in the German parliament, and he won. He won. He won an election. I think he won the election of a mayor. He became mayor of a town. So that shows you that, a former SS officer that killed thousands of people, that being elected in a town in Germany, that shows you that Germany was not still fully denazified at that time. But, I'll get back to the gameplay here, but that's basically it. And Heinz Reinfarth is only one example, guys. He's only one example. There are so many other top Nazis that had, committed these horrible crimes, killing thousands of people. And what happened is, the West German government will constantly release these guys saying, they're gonna, die in a couple years, they will, we'll let them spend the last few years with their families, and they'll still live for another 20 or 30 years, which is disgusting.
Listen, I got these extra gas stamps. You want them? They're yours. Cheap.
Yeah, all right. I'm good with that.
All right, here you go. And keep your mouth shut about this, all right?
Sure thing, buddy. It'll be our secret.
It better be.
Are expected to be high. For Press Radio News, I'm Lowell Harris.
For question. Okay, let's see here. I have to go to every single gas station, huh?
Hey, I got some extra gas stamps. You interested?
Yeah, sure. I'm interested.
All right, here you go. Fork over the dough.
Sure. Here's your money.
Thanks, pal. Now forget you saw me.
Okay. Next one here now.
Hey, interested in buying some gas stamps?
Sure. Just keep this between you and me, all right?
No problem. Just make sure you do the same.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Okay, let's see here. What do we... Next one will be right there.
Hey, I got some extra gas stamps. You interested?
Yeah, sure. I'm interested.
All right, here you go. Fork over the dough.
Sure. Here's your money.
Thanks, pal. Now forget you saw me.
Okay, I need to visit one more station. Okay, this will be the last one then. Rush on this one here now.
You can make a difference. Like any red-blooded American, you're probably asking yourself what you can do to help our boys overseas. Well, the Office of Civilian Defense has an answer to that question, and that answer is donation. Materials which are vital to the war effort. Materials like paper, tin, aluminum, and rubber are in short supply. And we don't need to tell you how much everyday items like soap, shampoo, and cigarettes are appreciated by our troops. Donate your unused items and help keep the war machine running, and make a soldier's day a little bit brighter. Remember, you can make a difference.
That is true. There were ads like that in that time period that were encouraging people to donate to help the war cause. The government would also tell people to save your when you're eating stuff, finish your meal, don't waste food, don't waste gas. you know, don't waste water, you know, stuff like that.
Hey, interested in buying some gas stamps?
Sure. Just keep this between you and me, all right?
No problem. Just make sure you do the same.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
All right, that's the last of them. At least I got some cash. I should head back to Joe's.
You call that friendship?
Brooklyn Bridge is beautiful in this game. Especially in the winter chapters. I just love how the city looks in the winter. Okay, so I think I'll probably wrap this up here, guys. I know I said I would do chapter 4 also, but this I guess it was just a lot of my history commentary that I guess just added on to this part. So I guess I'll just have chapter 4 as a separate part. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.